Listeners, beware. This podcast contains themes of the macabre and does not shy away from the details. Our content is graphic and our language is colorful. We might not be your cup of tea, so listener discretion is strongly advised. Hosted by two best friends with a proclivity to decipher the deeply demented minds of murderers. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 3 of The Killer Tea. On today's episode, we will be discussing Anna Marie HANH, Arsenic Annie.
We are your hosts, Chelsea
and Christina.
Hello.
So this is the third episode we are recording in a row in one night.
Don't mind us if we get a little slap happy.
By the time this releases, there might be a baby.
There will 100% be a baby.
No, yeah, there will 100% be a baby.
This is like 6 weeks from now that this will be coming out.
Oh, shit, son. I'm going to have a baby. Future Christina, you're going to have a newborn baby. That's fucking weird. Tell me what sleep was like. I can't remember. I won't remember it.
You're not sleeping now.
I know, I'm not sleeping now. I'm so pregnant and everything hurts and I have heartburn and I don't know how you can fucking do this shit. This woman has been pregnant like every year I've known her.
Oh, fuck off.
I'm kidding. She has.
I only have 3. Only 3.
Oh my God. You'll have one more child than me, and I still think you're fucking crazy.
And I'm gonna be pregnant again.
Oh, are you? Do you want to tell everybody what you're doing, Chelsea? Do you want to? Oh, Chelsea's doing something really, really cool.
I have decided to be a gestational carrier or a surrogate mother. So I will not be having any more biological children, but I will be having a baby for another very amazing couple. And that's all I'm going to say about it.
Just clap. Look at you being a nice, decent human and having a murder podcast. It's so weird.
Everyone knows about the murder podcast and no one has judged me for it yet.
We normally don't banter this much, but fuck it. You guys haven't heard our voices in so long, so why the fuck not? This year and a half, 2 years almost that we've been doing this, I've always been kind of like worried that I'm going to trip people up and freak them out. Mm-hmm. I actually get really cool responses.
Yeah, I do too. When people are like, oh, what else do you do? What's your hobby?
What's your hobby?
A murder podcast, actually.
Oh, you listen to murder podcasts?
No, I'm co-host one.
Talk about them.
But you know what? It's actually a really great selling point for me because people know I know about podcasting now. Yay, resume enhancers.
And one of our people that we actually had on the podcast reached out to us about wanting to help them with some of their marketing and social media.
So that's pretty cool.
That made me feel really good. I was like, little old us?
What?
Seriously?
Okay.
I'm just, okay, sure, fine. It's bizarre how your life can diverge in so many different ways. I never would have thought that. I knew I was going to be a photographer. Mm-hmm. I knew I wanted to be a boudoir photographer.
But you didn't know you would have a murder podcast?
I didn't know I would have a murder podcast.
You are a photographer that takes photos of naked women, and you also talk about serial killers who also like naked women. I mean, look at you.
It's a thing. It's a thing. And you're a mom of 3 who works from home and is like half work from home mom, half stay-at-home mom, raising little babies, teaching them morals and things.
And I walk around with my AirPods in so I can listen to my serial killer stories.
Yeah. Can we be any more basic white female than this?
No, because I also love Starbucks in my Ugg boots. So,
yeah.
And I'm currently wearing my Birkenstock knockoffs. So we're doing really good.
Hey, total segue. Again with the bantering that people always say, I love that they don't banter so much. We're totally
bantering.
Fucking that over right now. I am so glad that we are evolving from leggings people to becoming sweatpants people.
Love that for us.
I'm here for it. I'm living my best sweatpants life.
Leggings are now uncomfortable.
Yes.
They're so tight.
They are so tight. I can live in sweatpants, and the motherfucking sweatpants are matching and cute and like tie-dyed and like...
No, I'm here for it.
Dude.
I might move this banter to the end of the episode.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
It kind of got away from us a little bit.
Anyways,
What were we talking about again?
Arsenic Anna.
Who's this bitch? Okay. All right, guys, let me just set the standard here. This happened a really long time ago. It's another lady who likes to poison people.
We know you're so shocked.
We're gonna be sarcastic.
We're gonna be assholes.
If you're not here for that, let's go to the next episode.
This one is not for you.
Sarcasm abundant. And we're ready.
This is the third episode we've recorded tonight, so
We did get some chicken wings and sugar, so we're revitalized. All right. Do you want to set the scene?
I'll set the scene. So,
excuse me, let me fuck up just a little bit longer. Hold on.
Can you cut this shit? We need to be serious. This is serious shit.
I know.
There are people's lives at stake here.
I'm a horrible person. Okay. Van Damme.
Okay. Anna Marie Hahn was born on July 7th, 1906 in Bavaria, Germany. And her parents were George and Katerina Filser. Anna was the youngest out of 12 children. And you say, I have a lot of children. There were 9 boys and 3 girls. However, by the time Anna was born, the family had suffered significant tragedy in the loss of 2 sons in World War I and 3 other children.
Anna was a very sick child. She had spent almost half of a year in the hospital due to blood poisoning. While Anna could not recall much of her time at the hospital, it is said that she believed she was going to die several times due to the severity of her condition.
Well, I mean, blood poisoning is very serious.
It's a big deal. It doesn't really say how she got blood poisoning, but I imagine it was not very hard to do.
Early 1900s, I'm sure sepsis was not a difficult thing to accomplish.
Yeah. Fortunately for Anna, she was able to have an important goiter operation after recovering in the hospital and made a full recovery. And as the youngest child, the last girl, and having been sick for so long, Anna's mother and father definitely showed her a little bit more special treatment than they did the other children.
As George was a successful furniture manufacturer and lived a very privileged life in Bavaria, it's safe to assume that Anna's life was pretty comfortable. Her spoiled attitude carried on much into her teenage years, when it was said that she was very much so used to getting her way that she hit a bit of a rebellious streak.
Around the age of 16 or 17, Anna began to sneak out of the windows of her parents' home at night to go to parties. The scandal.
Scandalous.
This revelry typically involved drinking and, gasp, the opposite sex.
That hussy.
Unsure of what else to do with their spoiled and promiscuous daughter, sent Anna to live with her older sister, Caddy, in her home in Holland.
Unfortunately, this resulted in the exact opposite of what they were hoping would happen, in a very scandalous affair. Anna fell pregnant with a child outside of wedlock. On May 31st, 1925, at the age of 18, Anna Marie gives birth to her son, Oscar, claiming
that she did marry a successful Venetian physician.
Dr. Max Miszewski.
We're just gonna butcher
that.
All these fucking
And that the boy
names.
was his. She also claimed that he was a well-known cancer researcher, but that he had died. How convenient for Anna.
It is assumed that her family did not believe her, as they sent her to America to live with her uncle and his wife, Max and Anna Doschel, after the scandal. But not only that, her son Oscar remained behind with her family for several years.
Now, this is where some conflicting stories come into play. There is another version of Anna's origin story that is much less scandalous. According to other sources, it is reported that Anna did marry a Dr. Macheski, and the pair immigrated to America with their young son Oscar together. While they were living in the U.S., Anna's husband died unexpectedly. Fortunately for Anna, her uncle and aunt lived in the German district of Cincinnati, Ohio, and took her in. However, there is no record of a Dr. Macheski ever being found, and his name was not on the Ellis Island papers documenting Anna's arrival.
I was able to log into Ancestry.com on my account and find her Ellis Island papers, and that is 100% true. His name did not show up on there, nor did her son's.
Fair.
So it looks like it was just Anna.
And every story I've heard about it has been the story that we told where she got herself pregnant, lied about it, and her family sent her to live with her aunt and uncle.
Which was totally common, even all the way up until the 60s. Like, they would send girls away for a year to go to college or abroad to have a baby. And, I mean, obviously that's not what happened here. Her family held on to Oscar, which I thought that was interesting, too. They held on to the son.
I mean, they had 12 children.
Yeah, well, what's one more?
Yeah. On February 11th, 1929, and at the age of 23, Anna boarded the second-class cabin on the SS Munchen with the destination of New York City. During her trip, she contracted scarlet fever and spent her first 3 weeks in the States severely ill.
I think this is what plants a seed in Anna, whatever's brain. She's been sick and been nursed 2 major times in her life. This is just a little nugget for you guys to hold on to. Maybe this is where this idea comes from. Maybe not. But anyways, after recovering, Anna gets a new job as a chambermaid at the massive 500-room hotel, the Hotel Arms. The hotel would frequently host community dances, of which Anna, the party girl, loved to attend. It was during one of these community dances at the Hotel Arms that she would meet her future husband and fellow German immigrant, Philippon. Soon, the new couple would fall madly in love and plan to wed in May of 1930.
With that being said, there is another retelling of this portion of her story that, is worth notating because conflicting stories. According to other sources, after settling into her new life at her uncle's, Anna decides she needs better financial prospects. Our girl grew up with the finer things and was very spoiled and very entitled. So she concocts an elaborate lie about being an experienced nurse back home in Germany. And it's this lie that enables her to cross paths with the elderly Charles Oswald. Charles is a 71-year-old retired banker who is living quite comfortably and decides to hire the young and attractive Anna to work for him in his home. It's rumored that Charles fancied the fair-haired and pleasant-looking Anna, and Anna was eager to use this to her advantage. She had been promising the elderly man her hand in marriage in order to attain access to his assets while secretly stealing his money. It's also around this time that Anna starts taking Oswald's stolen money across state lines to participate in one of her new favorite pastimes, gambling. You see, in every retelling of this story, Anna sure does love her horse races in Kentucky and always seems to need more money to fuel her gambling addiction.
Yeah, no matter which version of the story, Charles exists. And she takes money from Charles. I was going to
say, every story that I've heard, Charles does exist.
She's taking money from this dude. And that's why I said maybe her being sick both times, like, these are major things that happen in her life, and her being nursed back to health from the point of death maybe put a little nugget in her brain of, ooh, I can pretend to be a nurse. I've been around them so much. I know how to pull it off.
Right.
Regardless, we do know that Anna genuinely did meet her husband shortly after immigrating to America and working in the hotel. After the pair was married, her husband Philip decided he no longer wished to be a telegraph operator and desperately wanted to leave his job. Oddly enough, 9 months after Philip and Anne were wed, Anna's sweet uncle made a new will, leaving her everything in it. Sweet Uncle George died, but he had graciously decided to leave his, quote, beloved niece, end quote, the Cincinnati home on 2970 Corleone Avenue.
It's unknown whether or not his death was officially considered suspicious or not, But Anna wastes no time in selling the family business and buys 2 bakeries. She also briefly returns to Germany at some point to bring little Oscar to his new home in America where his new stepfather awaits. From the outside looking in, the HANHs seem to be doing quite well and are becoming well-respected members of the local community.
However, Anna, her thirst for money and schemes was only growing worse and worse. Remember, this is an attractive young lady who is used to getting what she wants when she wants it. And she wanted luxury. Despite owning 2 small businesses and having received her uncle's entire estate, Anna continued to run a small business of caring for the elderly as a nurse, out of the goodness of her heart.
At some point, it's reported that she received 27 shares of Union Gas and Electric from good old Mr. Charles Oswald, which she actually denies having given to her. Oh, and there's a mysterious transfer of $700 from Charles' bank account to hers that he said he also didn't authorize. Yet there was no documentation of any legal action being taken against her or even a police report.
She even ends up selling the stocks that she graciously got from Mr. Oswald and then banks all of the cash. Now, we're talking the early 1900s, so this is a lot of fucking money.
It's a lot of money.
With their new big house, Anna and Philip decide to sublet some of the rooms out for rent. Their first renter, Ernest Kohler, was a 62-year-old man who was fairly ill and received prescription pads frequently. So obviously this is going to be a different time. They're getting these prescription pads from the doctor where it says essentially what you need and then your doctor just signs off on it. Mm-hmm. And it's literally a pad of paper. Well, Anna, who is running her new business, sees a golden opportunity. And never missing an opportunity, she starts snatching up those prescription pads from the poor soul. So that way she could forge a doctor's signature and get illegal prescriptions of morphine to sell on the side.
It really wasn't long before poor Mr. Kohler died, and with the autopsy declaring he passed from throat cancer. Not surprisingly, he too left Anna everything in his will.
So weird that she's just so giving and nice.
In a bizarre twist of fate, Kohler's cremated ashes were given to Anna Marie, and she even placed them on her mantle.
Okay, that is fucking weird.
That's fucking weird.
Like, she knows she killed this dude. She knows that she poisoned this dude, and she, took his ashes and legitimately held on to them. That's fucking weird.
In the 4 years that the HANHs have owned the 2 bakeries, Anna has grown quite tired of having to work. Not surprising. It's so much easier to poison men and take their money. In fact, this becomes a sore issue within her marriage to Philip. She seems to want to work less and less, but she wants more and more.
In 1935, this ended up being a very busy year for Anna. Mr. Oswald, whom Anna still was in connections with.
She's gonna marry him. Remember?
Mr. Oswald, he dies at age 77, and you guessed it, he also left everything in his will to Anna. Not that it mattered very much, because it turns out there was nothing left in the estate.
Because she had bled him dry already.
She literally took all of his assets while he was still alive, and he didn't realize. The attorney was the one that was like, yeah, there's nothing left. What the fuck?
She then began caring for Albert Parker, a 72-year-old retired railroad man. Parker also died soon after she started caring for him, so suspiciously. It just so happened that she had borrowed a significant amount of money from Albert but had been unable to pay him back. Prior to Parker's death, Anna had signed an IOU.
That was an actual thing back then. IOUs were legitimate business transactions.
So fucking weird. For $1,000 that she borrowed from him, but after his death, the IOU magically disappeared. $1,000 is a lot to me
right now
in 2021. I cannot imagine what $1,000 was in the 1930s.
Oh, I convert it later, don't worry. In 1935, an unexplained fire just broke out in one of the bakeries. What? Fortunately for the HANHs, though, the fire caused very minimal damage and didn't destroy the entire business. But, fortunately, very, very fortunately, Anna was able to collect $300 from insurance.
Wow.
Good for her. Such unlucky things are happening.
Later that same year, Anna decides she's just going to sell the bakeries. Shocking. As if one unfortunate fire wasn't enough, another 2 more fires at the family home would break out.
At the family home. At the residence.
After the first fire, the family collected $300 from the insurance company. Then there was another fire at the home in the same year, and she collected $2,000 in total from the insurance companies.
How did she get, how does it... I don't understand. Okay.
I mean, hindsight, we have the gift of hindsight.
I know,
and
but
so we can look back on this and
who
be
is
like,
paying attention to this woman? How does this happen so much?
Nobody is paying attention to her. That's the problem.
So like Chelsea was saying, as you can imagine, these sums of money that we keep mentioning are pretty high. That's no small number to scoff at. So the $300 we mentioned earlier from the insurance payout would have been the equivalent to the purchasing power of $5,728 today. Oh my
God.
So that missing IOU for the $1,000 was actually valued at over $19,000 in today's money.
Oh my God.
Who just loans somebody out $19,000?
Not this bitch.
No, not at all. Like, yeah, you might be surprised to hear that despite Anna's money schemes, the HANHs are actually approaching financial ruin.
Due to the failure to make mortgage payments, the family does lose the very home they were bequeathed in her uncle's will.
Like, how much of a fuck up do you have to be?
Needless to say, her marriage to Phil isn't going exactly as planned.
Things are a little rocky.
Money always seems to be a dark cloud looming over them, and Anna couldn't seem to shake her love of gambling either. Anna had never seemed to shake off her gambling debts, no matter how many unsuspecting men she killed or fires she started. Stop laughing, this is serious.
I'm such a piece of shit. It's just so ridiculous.
I know.
I wonder what Philip thought, if he was in on it. Could you imagine, like, you keep getting left all this money by your sweet old men that you're looking after, and you, as a husband, you're like hearing, oh my God, like, so-and-so left me money, and oh my God, my uncle left me a house, and we sold businesses, and we have 2 bakeries, but like, we're so broke. I just can't even fathom what that was actually like. In late December of 1935, Anna attempted to take out a $10,000 life insurance policy on Philip.
You don't say!
And I didn't run the conversions on that, so I actually don't know how much that well and truly was for the time.
A lot.
It was a lot.
A lot.
A fucking lot of money.
It's $190,000.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. Needless to say, that was denied. But never fear. By the following year, she successfully got approved for a $5,000 policy.
Better safe than sorry.
You know, as they say, just looking out for her family.
But wouldn't you know it? Anna's husband, Phil, has suddenly fallen very ill not too long after this. And much to Anna's dismay and against her own wishes, Maggie, Philip's mother, took Philip to the hospital. Like, that bitch.
How heartless. Clearly, Anna is this experienced nurse. Everything works out well when she takes care of people. Why would Philip need to go to the hospital?
Anna's poor mother-in-law, Maggie, got very sick after eating some chocolates that Anna had given to her.
Oh God, that's just so strange.
And although Philip did survive this very mysterious illness, the marriage really went downhill after that. And Philip eventually was just like, nah, girl, I'm good.
And the couple eventually separated. Oh, God. In June of 1936, she met George Heiss while out buying coal. They quickly became friends, and George even started calling her his girl. As their new friendship bloomed, Anna began taking her normal routine of gradually adding poison to her victims' food. In this particular circumstance, George Heiss was one of the lucky ones. He noticed that after being served a mug of beer by Anna, a few little houseflies took a sip, and they died instantly upon tasting the liquid. Immediately suspicious, George is like, what the fuck? He pushed Anna to try some of his beer, and she all out refused. So after that, he was like, yes, this bitch is poisoning me, get out of my house, and he never let her back in.
Unfortunately, he was partially paralyzed from the residual effects of the poison Anna had been administering to him over the period of their friendship. She's a terrible friend.
Oh my God.
Terrible.
It doesn't say this, but I wonder, is she like promising relationships with all of these people? Because this is another one that's like...
in the podcast that I listened to about her, it was like she was promising these men this like young wife then wasn't delivering. She was just killing them.
Because I was like, it seems like a little bit, they're tolerating a lot of sickness just for a nurse. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I think she was promising like a wife.
On July 15th, 1936, Anna meets a lady by the name of Stina Cable while in the ladies' room, and they go out to get a beer together. The documentation available online does not detail whether or not this is a one-off meeting between the pair or if some sort of friendship is formed. But what is known is that Anna steals $800 from Stina, and it's also noted that Ms. Cable had been poisoned and sick for almost an entire year after that.
Oh my God.
So I don't know if they went out and she poisoned her that night and that was just her reaction to it, or if they had a friendship going after that. It didn't really say.
On June 3rd, 1937, when Anna was 29, Jacob Wagner died at the age of 78 while in her care. This time, a proper autopsy is performed and finally showed the evidence of a 4 times lethal amount of arsenic in his body. It's believed that Anna Marie had been poisoning his orange juice. Finally, this is raising suspicions around Anna, and the police investigation into Jacob's death begins.
That doesn't mean that a bitch didn't try to get away with more.
No. Luckily for her estranged husband, Phil, Anna loses the life insurance policy that she had taken out on him due to missed payments in July of 1937. But also in July, Anna gets to work trying to rack up more wealthy victims. On July 6, 1937, George Selman died in her service from quote-unquote metallic poison. She managed to get $15,000 from him before he died.
$15,000 in their time.
That's a lot of money. That's over $200,000.
At some point in time, Anna meets George Obendorfer, who is a cobbler. They begin a relationship, according to the people around him. And not long after, she convinces George to take her and her son on a vacation to Colorado, under the pretense that she owns property there.
Yeah, she said that she had owned, I believe it was like a horse farm.
Yeah, and that they were going to go stay there and see it. On August 1st, 1937, after joining Anna and Oscar on the train to Colorado Springs, George began to fall very, very ill very quickly during this train ride. I know, you're so surprised. Shortly after checking into the Park Hotel, emergency services have to rush George to the hospital, and unfortunately doctors were unable to identify the mysterious illness or even save him. But the doctors were immediately suspicious of poisoning and then notified the police straight away.
An investigation quickly began, and it's here where Anna's schemes finally begin to catch up to her. The elderly George Obendorfer was from Cincinnati and had checked into the Park Hotel on July 30th, 1937, with a woman who had signed the registry as Anna HANH and her child. This is all according to the hotel staff. The room was immediately checked, and of course, Anna and Oscar were nowhere to be found. Surprise, surprise. The hotel manager also mentioned to the investigators that he had just filed a report of $300 worth of missing diamonds from the hotel premises that same day.
What a coinkadink. So weird. So strange.
Police believe these two incidents, they may very well have been related.
Oh, you don't
Surprising.
say.
And they had canvassed local pawn shops in hope that this unidentified woman may have sold the jewels there. Sure enough, one shop owner was able to identify her and give them her info. Luckily for the owner, he had decided not to purchase the jewels. He thought she was suspicious.
Suspicious. Well, the Denver bank also reported a woman fitting Anna's description who tried to withdraw $1,000 from the bank using a Cincinnati bank book in the name of George Offendorfer. Even though the woman claimed to be his wife, the bank manager was like, no, there's something weird about this, and said, we're not going to do this withdrawal.
Right. They suspect that Anna is on the run and on her way back to Ohio. With the help of the hotel owner, the police were able to track down enough information about George and contact the Cincinnati police, which this is a big deal that the police stations are talking. Like,
yeah,
that's incredible.
Even in the 1980s, they did not do that.
It wasn't long before they discovered the suspicious past of Mrs. Anna Marie Hahn. And detectives were convinced they had an accomplished murderess on their hands.
When she arrived back in Ohio, police were there to greet her and take her away in handcuffs.
After George died, a proper autopsy was able to be performed. Not surprisingly, it revealed high levels of arsenic in his body. This finally led to a full inquiry into Anna and the exhumation of several victims' bodies. Sure enough, after thorough autopsies were performed, they found all the victims had suffered from some form of poisoning, whether it be from arsenic or something else.
The police reportedly say that he died in agony just after Miss Hahn had bent over his deathbed, inquiring about what his name was and professing that she did not know the man.
Lying bitch.
Anna was convicted after a 4-week trial in November of 1937 and sentenced to death in Ohio's electric chair by a jury of 11 women.
Wow.
That's really impressive. And 1 man.
It really was a jury of her peers.
Up until the end, she remained convinced that her life would be spared, and while she was strapped into the chair, she pleaded with the prison warden to save her.
She became the first woman in Ohio history to get the death sentence, which was carried out on December 7th, 1938. And her last words were, "No, no, no, Mr. Woodward, don't do this to me. Won't someone help me?"
I cut out a bit about her trial because it was just a woe is me.
I'm a poor woman.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to kill all those people.
Yeah, she lied, recanted her story, lied again, finally came clean. The reporters surrounding her actually, they focused a lot on her physical appearance.
As if pretty women can't be evil murderers.
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of what the play Chicago was based off of.
Yeah.
Where they kept just reporting on like what she was wearing and what she looked like and, you know, stuff that people did in those days.
It's just so obvious what was going on. Nobody goes through 2 house fires in 1 year. And I mean, if you have had 2 house fires in 1 year that were legitimate, like, sorry.
That's your
sucks.
luck is fucking terrible.
And again, we have hindsight.
Mm-hmm. And this has been almost, you know, a little less than 100 years at this point.
Yeah. So, I mean, none of these men deserve to die.
No, that's
they're all
awful.
victims. And it's horrible. And poisoning.
And it's not just arsenic. She used something like, I kept calling it crouton oil, but it's not called crouton oil. I promise you it's not called crouton oil. And like different forms of poison to end these men's lives. And they suffered.
They did.
They suffered terribly.
And it's truly horrible.
You know what? She absolutely fucking deserved the electric chair.
Oh, 100%.
This was kind of like a double hitter. We had someone who, I mean, she wasn't from Ohio, but she lived in Ohio most of her life and was a female serial killer. So check, check. Because, you know, we tend to do like a well-known serial killer, a lesser-known serial killer, and then a female serial killer, and then what we call our
hometown killers. Because Ohio has copious amounts of serial killers.
And we still haven't run out of Ohio yet, so we haven't had to do North Carolina.
We haven't even hit the biggin from Ohio.
I know. That...
I don't know when we'll do him.
I don't know either. I'm sure if you guys try hard enough, you can figure out which one we're
talking about. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. His dad was a substitute teacher in a lot of our schools.
My mom grew up down the street from him when she lived in Ohio.
Oh.
He lived in the same, like, the next county over from where I grew up.
I mean, we haven't officially talked about this really on the podcast. There's been maybe a few hints and drops. The past episode, I talked about someone that I knew whose family had been murdered. My mom grew up friends with someone who would eventually become a serial killer.
And my mom lived in the same city that Gacy was in when he was at large, when she was a kid.
I became acquaintances with someone who is related to a serial killer.
And we have also become very good friends with someone who is the daughter of a serial killer. Yikes.
Yeah, there's still even more there.
Yeah.
God. Ohio's a fucked up place, man.
Ohio's fucking weird.
All right, guys, I know that one was kind of a quick one, but this is kind of what happens when you get the serial killers
the
from...
Black Widows.
Yeah, from the early 1900s. Really, the large plethora of information comes from the 1970s and on. Mm-hmm. But we want to talk about female serial killers. We've gone over the psychology kind of behind women killers.
They often kill for financial gain.
And she's no different.
No.
She was callous as fuck, though. I mean, she did not give any shits about those people.
To be fair, if we're going to talk about female killers here, the different ones really are like Elizabeth Bathory and Eileen Wuornos.
Yeah, they're very rare. Very rare.
Most of them are like this
Black
bitch.
Widows. And a lot of them, they pose as nurses.
Mm-hmm.
They're in some sort of maternal role, caregiving role.
Yep.
There's one that was even recent, and I was watching her entire confession. I can't think of what her name is. Maybe eventually we'll cover her. She just took them out left and right under the guise of mercy killings.
Yep.
It's just, ugh. Anyways.
Mind-boggling. Dahmer scale. What do you give her?
I'm going to give her a 7 out of 10, and the only reason why it's not higher is because of poisoning. I fully believe this bitch would have kept on going and going and going.
I believe so too. 7 out of 10 is fair. Poisoning people is horrible, and she definitely would have kept it going.
All right, you want to do a palate cleanser since we had a little bit of a shorter episode here?
Sure. Palate cleanser. This is the palate cleanser.
I'm going to use Instagram for my memes today because they get a little bit more raunchy when you get on Instagram. Say what you want about 2020, but we had Tiger King arrested Ghislaine Maxwell, got a suspect in the Madeleine McCann murders, convicted the Golden State Killer, deciphered a Zodiac code. It's been quite a year for true crime. I did not hear about the Zodiac code one.
Oh, I had heard that they thought they had cracked it.
What? All right, you find another meme. I'm going to look this shit up.
Me, don't be weird at this social event. Other me, give strangers unnecessary information about serial killers. I tend to do that. I open my mouth and serial killer word vomit comes out.
Oh yeah, no shit. All right, so here's some killer tea for you. The Zodiac 340 cipher cracked by code experts 51 years after it was sent to the SF Chronicle.
Well, here's one that's relatable. I can't stop thinking about the Zodiac killer shuffling around a California care home in his slippers, grumbling about how they finally managed to crack his last cipher before a nurse helps him back into bed and tells him to quiet down.
So, do you want to know what the code is?
Yeah.
According to code-breaking expert David Oranchik, the cipher's text includes, "I hope you are having lots of fun trying to catch me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise. All the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me." That's fucking creepy.
That's fucking weird.
That's half a century later that they cracked the code.
The Zodiac killer, and we will eventually do him or her. Probably him.
Probably him.
Absolutely fascinating that they were never able to catch him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nothing. Although,
And that he
I think
stopped.
I mean, just
Maybe they did catch him.
And then he got away.
Or something. I don't know. Yeah, that is a case. It's one of those cases that we need more time on. It's not something like Anna, who's limited information. We can pump it out in 30 minutes.
So much information on the Zodiac Killer.
You really have to do the good, steady research to do the story justice. And, a lot of people know the story, but I like to try and find stuff that maybe isn't as commonly talked about, or that we have a full understanding as much as one can about that sort of thing. I've seen enough episodes of Dateline to never stand near a cliff while letting my husband take my picture.
Oh my God. It's a tweet that says, serial killers are lucky. They've always known exactly what they want to do with their lives. And someone retweeted, and other people's.
God.
I don't care if my death looks suspicious or not. Perform the autopsy. I have seen a lot of true crime documentaries. I don't trust nobody.
This one's great. It's a picture of really oversized suit pants from like the 90s that doesn't fit you well. And it says, I've watched enough true crime documentaries to know if your lawyer's pants look like this, you're fucked. That's fucking great. God. Ay, ay, ay.
Oh my God, it's a Venn diagram. And on one side it says, anxious about everything. On the other side it says, listens to murder podcast. In the middle, me. Facts.
This one is true. If I ever go missing, I hope my best friend and neighbor are ready to call out my killer's bullshit as quickly as these two heroes did. And it's the Shanann Watts, her best friend and the neighbor.
Yes. They were immediately like, something's wrong.
The intuition on her best friend was insane. Guys, if you have not watched the body cam footage of the Shanann Watts murder, holy snakies. This best friend was on it.
Something is fucking wrong. Yeah. And even neighbors like, he's not acting right.
Yep. If you're somebody who likes to analyze or just view body cam footage, I really, really enjoy. I don't know if you've ever gone down this YouTube wormhole.
I don't have time to go down those YouTube wormholes.
Body language experts reviewing crime scene videos and or interrogations, and it's so fascinating because it's interesting to hear their perspective.
Yeah,
and it also makes me go, oh my God, if I'm ever interviewed for anything, all right, hands out in front of me, lean forward like I'm very interested in what's going on. And then I'm like, wait, is that how a serial killer thinks? Am I fucked up?
Oh my God, the things we worry about.
Yes. All right, y'all.
Well, you know the drill. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Killer T. We're also on YouTube if you want to listen to us there. If you want to send us a love or hate note, you can email us at thekillert@gmail.com.
All right, guys. Until next time.
Bye.
Join us in the next episode where we discuss Vasily Komarov. The Wolf of Moscow.